Let's just fit this to screen so we can actually see a bit better. So to add our moss here, we could either just select the moss layer and just copy off a chunk of what we already have, which would be the fastest way, or we could just remask the moss image and just adjust it to where it looks right. Alright, so what I might do is just try to copy pieces just to save some time, and if it doesn't look right, we'll just remake it. Okay, so I'm going to select the moss layer and just drag a selection maybe around the corner post here. I'm just going to copy that chunk of moss. Okay, do Control C, and then we'll paste, Control V. Alright, let's actually drag this up above the concrete layers. Alright, and we'll just drag it up onto the concrete here. Alright, let's zoom in so we can see. Alright, turn our UVs back on. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of position it. Alright, like that. Let's do Control T on it. I'm just going to actually stretch it a little bit bigger, holding Shift on the corner, just so they're more evenly covered. Okay. And we'll do Enter, and then let's turn off the UVs here, and we'll save this out and just see if that looks like it's going to work. Alright, let's jump back over, just take a quick look. Okay, so not too bad. The color I think is still going to need to be taken down a bit. I think it's still a little too bright, but I'll do that after. I'm just looking at the coverage here to see if it kind of fits with the rest of what we have on the posts. And so let's exit active shade and just spin around here. Alright, so we have some pretty thick spots here, but it is thick on our post here, so that's probably okay. And again, this really depends on how you want yours to look. Alright, so let's just do a render from maybe up here, and we'll see. Alright, active shade. Okay, so I think the coverage is good. The color's a little whack, but we'll fix that in a second. Let's try it from this side. Okay, so I'm just going to exit that, and we'll just get in here a little closer. Okay, so let's just turn active shade on, and we'll go back over and just tweak the color of that, make it a little darker. Okay, so back to Photoshop here, and I'm just going to trim off what we don't need. So let's drag a selection around the concrete. Alright, invert it, Control Shift I, and delete. Alright, so I'm just going to drag this down so I can kind of see down here, and we use the same one, but it's looking a little too bright, I think, and I might actually adjust it on all of the model. Alright, so for layer 2 here, the new moss, I'm just going to actually tweak this just slightly. So we'll do image adjustments, and maybe we'll use hue saturation here. Okay, so I'm just going to take the lightness down slightly on this, just to make it a little bit darker. Okay, it doesn't have to be much. I'm going to combine it with this moss down here, and I think I'll tweak it as one layer in a second, but I'm just going to lower that down just a bit. Okay, and let's take the saturation down slightly as well, just a tiny bit. Okay, and we'll say okay, and then let's select layer 2 and the moss layer with Control, and we'll do Control E. Alright, combine it. Let's actually rename it moss so we don't get mixed up. Alright, and then we'll do an adjustment on this whole layer. Alright, so image adjustments, and we'll use hue saturation again. Okay, now I'm just going to darken it up because I think the moss is a little too bright green. Okay, but that'll depend on how it looks to you, so you might not want to do this. Alright, so I'm just going to tone it down just a bit. Let's take the saturation down a little bit as well. Alright, I might go for a slight bit more of a yellowish color. Okay, so we'll just try this. So -10 on the hue, -8, -7, and we'll say okay. Alright, and we'll just save and see if it looks alright. Okay, so a little bit more yellow in there, as you can see. Alright, so I'm just going to check this out. Just zoom out a bit. Okay, and I just want to make sure we get it right now, because once we move on, we're not going to be able to go back. Alright, let's just check out this side. Alright, do a little closer up. Okay, so I think that should work out just fine. So we'll just do a save here. And we'll move on and actually start working on the metal now, finally. Okay, so let's just fit this back to screen. So we'll just open up another texture here. I'm just going to start with this metal one. Open that up. Okay, and it has a hotspot on it, as you can see, and that's not usually ideal, but it's just going to be kind of like our base layer, so I'm not going to worry about it, but I am going to fix a few of these marks here. Okay, and for that I'm going to use the spot healing brush. Alright, so we'll just paint over them quickly. And the spot healing brush is awesome. Works super good on certain things and not so good on others, but for this it should be fine, so we'll just go over the stuff quickly. Alright, anything that sticks out. Let's get rid of that scrape there. Okay, and down here at the bottom, I'm not going to worry too much about these marks. I'll just leave them. And we'll just copy it like this, so Control A and C. Just close it. Alright, paste it on. Control V. Turn our UVs back on. Alright, we'll just move it up to the tank. And I'm just going to move it up to try to remove some of that hot spot at the top. Okay, let's zoom in here. Okay, and it's a little short, as you can tell, so we're going to have to tile it, so let's just paste again, Control V. Alright, we'll just line this one up next to it. Alright, and I'm just going to do Control T on this and flip it horizontally. Alright, try to match the color somewhat in the center here. I might trim a piece of this off. I'm just going to move it over a bit. Alright, like that, and we'll say Enter. Let's get rid of the UVs here so we can see. Alright, so I'm just going to drag a selection around this end and just delete that piece. Delete. Okay, so the color's a little more even, and then we'll just patch out what we need to. Alright, just going to move it over slightly. Okay, and let's combine layer 2 and 3 together. Holding Control, hit E. Alright, and we'll just use the spot healing brush here as well. Okay, and it might not work, but we'll see if it hides that. You can see a little weird. Alright, so I'm just going to go down a bit. Alright, let's actually use the healing brush. Alright, so I'm just going to switch to that and we'll zoom in here. Alright, so with this one I'm just going to Alt-click over here and then just drag down. Alright, see if I can kind of blend the seam in a bit. Alright, let's just try to get rid of some of this. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to cover it up, but just don't want the seam showing up right in the middle of our tank. Okay, and you can see we got some tiling marks here, so I'm just going to maybe paint out these guys here. Get rid of that, let's get rid of this one. Alright, this one over here is going to show up over here as well. Alright, same with this guy. And I mean, it is going to be, you know, on the complete opposite side of the tank, so you probably really wouldn't notice if the same mark repeated, but it's usually a good idea to try to get rid of anything that's totally noticeable. Okay, so let's turn UVs back on. Alright, I'm just going to fit this back to screen. Alright, zoom in a little bit. I'm just going to chop off this end piece over here. Okay, and delete. Alright, so we'll just name this layer maybe metal, or tank base metal or something, just so we know what it is. Okay, and let's turn our UVs off for a sec, and I'm just going to do a save here. We'll just check this out in max quickly, just to see how it's looking. Okay, so there's our tank. I'm just going to change angles. Exit active shade, just move out a bit so we can see it. Alright, turn it back on. Okay, so it looks like it's covering okay. Resolution's okay. So we'll just go back and just add another layer on top of this. Okay, so this time I'm going to take metal 2 here. This one's a little nasty looking. I'm just going to use this to get some variation in the color again, and we're going to do this pretty much like we did the concrete, just build up multiple layers. Alright, so let's crop this first. I'm just going to get rid of this big scratch along the top. Alright, just take maybe the center portion of the map. Okay, maybe like that. Hit enter, and then I'm just going to get rid of a few of these marks with the spot healing brush again. Alright, so we'll switch to that and just click on some of this stuff. Let's get rid of that guy. Some white specks maybe. And that one, that one, that one. Just anything you see that kind of looks weird. that guy. Maybe that, and that. Okay, and copy it. Control A and C. We'll just close it. Right, and paste it on. Control V. And we're going to have to tile this one as well. Okay, so I'm just going to move it up. Let's zoom in a bit. Alright, so we'll do Control T on this, and I'm going to scale this up, which, like I mentioned earlier, isn't usually a good idea, because the resolution is going to, lose quality. But we're going to cover it up with another one, so I'm not worried too much about it. So we'll just stretch it so it fits the height of the tank. Alright, might just move it down a bit. Alright, let's go down a bit like that, maybe. And we'll hit enter, and then I'm just going to recopy it, Control A and C, and paste, Control V. Alright, we'll fill in the other half there. Okay, same thing here. I'm going to just go into transform mode with Control T and flip it horizontally. Alright, and let's hit enter, and I'm just going to try to find a place on here that will be somewhat easy to patch this out, this seam. Alright, so I'm just going to move it over like that. Okay, we'll combine them with Control E, and then we'll just try to fix this seam here. Okay, I'm going to try the spot healing brush again, but it might not work very good on this, but we'll see. Alright, so I'm just going to paint down. Alright, you can see it looks kind of weird there, so I'm just going to do that, Control Z, and let's try the actual healing brush instead. Alright, so we'll just Alt-click, and this might not work very good on this texture either. Not too bad, we'll just go along. And you can take the brush down a little bit. Alright, so just Alt-click, and then just paint out the seam. Get rid of that. Okay, we got a toweling mark here again, so I'm just going to click in the light part and just try to paint it out. I don't think you'd really notice it anyway, but we'll just do it to be safe. Okay, we got some toweling scrapes. Let's zoom out. Alright, but I don't think you're really going to totally notice that. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom in again, turn the UVs back on. And we also have to keep in mind here that this edge over here is going to match up with this one on the model. So you just want to make sure that, it's kind of the same, tone and color. Alright, so you don't have a big huge light spot over here and then a dark one over here, because you're going to see that seam, really noticeably on the model. But this should work fine. Okay, so I'm just going to crop off the part I don't want. Alright, drag selection around. Invert it, Control-Shift-I, and delete it. Okay, and let's turn off the UVs, and for this one I'm going to change the blend mode to multiply, alright, which is going to darken it up quite a bit, as you can see. And I think I might take the opacity down as well. Alright, just slightly, maybe like 80 or 85%. I do want it to be fairly dark, but not too crazy, so I'll just do it like that, and again, if it looks wrong to you, just, make adjustments. Okay, so let's just call this one Tank Metal. It really doesn't matter what we call it. And let's just do a quick save. Alright, check it out, back in Max one more time. Okay, so not too bad so far. I think I'll add some rust to it in a second, but let's do a save in here, just in case we have a crash. Alright, go back to Photoshop, and we'll just continue on, open up another map. Okay, so I'm just going to open up this Rust 1 map. Okay, and it looks kind of nasty. We're just going to use a piece of it, so let's just copy it. Control A and C, and we'll close it, and I'm just going to paste it above the tank metal layer. Okay, and I think we'll have to tile this one as well, so let's just get it up there, and we'll zoom in. Alright, turn our UVs back on. Okay, so I'm just going to scale it up a bit. Alright, holding shift. And again, it's not always a good idea to scale them up, but because we're changing the blend modes and the opacity, it's not really going to be totally noticeable. Okay, so let's just take it down, and I'm just going to get rid of some of that drippy looking stuff on the base. Alright, go a little taller maybe. Just want to make sure it covers the entire tank. Okay, maybe like that. and hit enter, and then we'll recopy it, Control A and C, and paste it on. Alright, just fill up the other end here. Okay, so again I'm gonna do Control T and just flip it horizontally. Alright, let's just hit enter here and just get rid of the UVs. Alright, so I'm just gonna move it around until it looks like it might be a good spot to try to patch out the seam. Okay, maybe like that, and then we'll combine them, holding Control, hit E, and then we'll just try to fix the seam here. It's not that visible. I'm just going to use the healing brush for this, I think. Alright, so let's zoom in. Alright, so we're just going to Alt-click, and we'll just drag down it. See if we can get rid of it. Alright, just undo that. Alright, you can take your time and get a better result. I'm making a bit of a mess, it's a little blurry, but I think I'll just leave it for the sake of speed. Okay, and let's maybe try to take out some of this weird mark here. Alright, so I'm just going to Alt-click over here and just see if I can quickly blend that in a bit better. Alright, so turn the UVs back on, and let's just chop this off. Alright, so I'm just going to drag a selection around the tank again. Alright, invert it and delete it. Okay, so let's just move it over so we can see. And I'm going to add a layer mask to this as well. So let's zoom out again so I can see the whole thing. Okay, and let's turn the UVs off, and I'm just going to go out and open up one of our masks again. Alright, I'm going to use this Masks 2.1. Okay, this was actually made using that Rust image. Alright, so just copy the whole thing. Alright, close it, and we'll go to layer 3 and just hit add layer mask. Okay, back into the channels, turn on the mask layer, and just paste. Control V. Okay, we're going to have to scale this one up a little bit. So let's do Control T, and we'll just shift drag it on the corner. Alright, just so it fits pretty much the height we need. Just going to drag it up like that. Okay, and let's go back to the layers and just click on our layer. Alright, there it is. Okay, so I just want some of this rusty stuff to show through. Alright, and I might, I'm going to leave it on normal for the blend mode, but I might take the opacity down a little bit more, just so it's not so intense. Okay, maybe even like that, maybe 65 or 70% should be fine. Alright, let's just give it a quick name, just call it Tank Rust. Okay, and I'm going to open up another one, so we'll go out, open. Okay, and I'm going to open up my Rust 2.1. Alright, this one here. Alright, so let's just copy the whole thing, Control A and C. Paste it on. Okay, and this one we're going to have to tile as well. I'm just going to move it up here. Alright, do Control T, and I'm just going to scale it down so the height's about this high as the tank. We'll use the full height of it. Alright, let's go a little bit bigger maybe. I only want to have to tell it twice if possible. Okay, so we'll say enter, Control A, C, and paste again. Alright, just to fill in the other side here. Alright, let's flip it around, so Control T, flip horizontal. Alright, I'm just going to move it over slightly. Alright, and enter. Just want to make sure we're covering the whole thing. Looks good. Alright, so let's combine them. Control E, and then we'll just get rid of some of this other stuff here. Alright, so I'm going to try to use the spot healing brush again. See if it works okay on this. Alright, I'm just going to get rid of some of these tiling marks, like these scrapes. Alright, you can see sometimes it doesn't work very good. Alright, so I'm just going to Control Z that. Alright, see if I can get rid of this one with it. Alright, just take out any of these repeating marks that you might notice. Alright, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of these. Alright, just gonna undo that one. Control Z. Okay, so for the big huge scrape here, we can either leave it on one side. I'm just gonna maybe use the patch tool here. So select that, and I'm just going to drag a selection around that scratch. Okay, and we'll just move it over here and see if it blends it in. Okay, not too bad, not perfect, but it should be okay, good enough. Okay, so let's maybe get rid of one of these here too. Get rid of this piece. Okay, we are going to darken this one up anyway, so you're probably not really going to notice it. So we'll just do it quickly. Let's get rid of this tiling stuff up here. Alright, so that's probably even fine. And let's just change the blend mode here to multiply. Okay, which is going to take it down to a pretty dark color. I'm just going to fit this on screen so I can see a bit better. Alright, I think that's too dark, so I'm just going to lower the opacity down to maybe like 70 or 80%. Alright, maybe around 70, that should work. Looks okay. Alright, and let's just call it Tank Rust 2. Alright, and let's do a save. We'll just jump back over to max and see how it looks. Okay, so decent. We have a little ways yet to go. We're going to have to add some text and stuff, but just for the base, it's not looking too bad. So we'll save again in here. And go back. Okay, so now that we have the metal in there, we'll just add the text to the side of the tank. Alright, before we do that though, let's actually include the ambient occlusion map into the texture now. I never did do that. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the AO and we'll copy it. Alright, and just close it. Okay, I'm going to paste it on top of the Tank Rust 2 layer. Control V. Alright, let's actually fit this to screen. And if you did end up rendering out your ambient occlusion at 2K, just go into the image size here and just make it 4096 by 4096 before you copy and paste it into your texture. Okay, just so it fits properly. Alright, so we'll paste it in and just change the blending mode to multiply. Alright, and let's just save this and see how it looks on the model. Okay, and the difference should be pretty apparent when we get into max here when it re-renders. Okay, you can see it got quite a bit darker because now we're actually getting forced shadows onto the model. And an AO can make a lot of difference in just the overall quality of how everything looks. It actually looks quite a bit better. So we'll move on and just add the text up here on the tank. Alright, so I'm going to zoom in up there. And the reason I added the ambient occlusion now was just so I could see the two tank ridges here without having to turn the UVs on and off. Alright, that'll just make centering our text a little easier. Alright, so let's grab the text tool and just click in the middle somewhere. Okay, and let's open up the character panel as well. Alright, so for the text I'm going to use Arial. You could use a different font if you want to. I also have mine set to black, so the letters are a little thicker. Okay, I'm going to try it at 150 for the size, and I have my spacing here set to 150 as well, just to space the letters out a bit. Okay, and I'm just going to type a generic sounding name here. I did Eagle Ridge on the original model, so I'm going to use that here as well, but you know, feel free to add any name you want. There's no real mystery behind this name, other than I thought maybe it sounded like, you know, a small town or something. I actually live on a mountain, and there's an area just down the road that's actually called Eagle Ridge, so that's where I got the name from. But you know, use whatever you want. Okay, so we'll just position it kind of underneath that first top ridge, and we want to leave some space here because I'm going to actually add the population count in there in a minute. Okay, so to get it to look a little more, you know, beat down, so it matches the quality of the tank, let's actually add a mask to this text layer. Okay, so I'm going to go down and add layer mask again, and we'll go back out to our texture source folder, and I'm just going to open up maybe the second mask here, mask 2. Alright, and we'll copy it, Control A and C, close it, and then we'll just paste it into the channels here after we turn on our mask. Control V, paste it in, and then we'll just move this up. Alright, I'm just going to try to break up the text there so the paint looks like it's, you know, peeling off and faded out. Alright, let's actually go back to our layers and just click on the text layer. Alright, I might actually change the blending mode of this layer to maybe soft light. Alright, just to take the intensity down a bit, and then let's select our mask there and just move it around until we get it so it looks, you know, somewhat right. Alright, I don't really want the letters to be, you know, unlegible, but I do want them to look, you know, old. Okay, so I'm just going to move it around maybe like that. That's probably fine. Okay, so we'll do that and let's save. and we'll jump back over to max and just see how that looks. Okay, so not too bad for the size. I'd like it to actually be on the front of the tower, so what I might do here is just exit active shade for a second. Okay, and I'm just going to select the model, and let's turn on show map seam here, right, just so we can see where our seams are. And our seam's actually over here on the side, so what I might do is just rotate the tank so I can have the text on the front and the seam on the back. Okay, so I'm going to drop down into edit poly here. Right, we'll just say hold yes. Okay, it's going to screw our mapping up, but that's okay. It'll go back to normal when we go back up. So let's just go to element. Okay, and I'm going to select just the tank, and we'll just rotate this. Alright, so let's turn on rotate, and I'm just going to spin it. Alright, let's hit show end result here. Alright, hit F2 so we can actually see. Alright, so there's the text there. It's a little hard to see. Alright, hopefully you can see this okay. So I just want to have it facing the front. Alright, let's turn off element for a sec. Alright, just going to rotate it back just slightly. Okay, turn it off, take a look. Okay, so it doesn't have to be perfectly centered, but I would assume, you know, if they were actually going to write on a real tank, they'd probably write it on the front. Makes sense, I guess. Okay, so let's just go back out here, and we'll just click up on the top of the stack there, and we can turn off show map seam. Alright, on the UVs. Alright, let's find an angle and just turn on active shade again and see how it looks. Okay, so that's a bit better. At least you can read it now. Okay, so let's do a save here in max. Jump back to Photoshop, and we'll just add the population text. So let's grab the text tool again, and we'll just click somewhere down here, and I'm just going to type this quickly, so we'll just do pop, or you can put population if you want to, and we'll just make up a random number. So I'm going to do 7,538, but you can use any number. Okay, and let's select the text. Alright, just click and drag, select it, and we'll just make the size maybe 50 or 60. Alright, I'm going to try 60. Alright, then we'll just move it up and center it underneath our other text. Alright, maybe right there. Okay, and we'll just add a layer mask to this layer as well. Okay, so we'll hit add layer mask, and then let's go out and just open up one again. I might just use the same one mask too. Alright, we'll copy it again, Control A and C, close it, and then just go into the channels, turn on the mask, and paste, Control V. And if you had wanted to, you could actually have done both text layers and then combine them and just mask them at the same time, but either way it doesn't matter. Alright, so I'm just going to move this around a bit. Alright, let's actually go back to our layers and just select the text layer. Okay, and let's also set the blending mode here to soft light. Okay, just like we did with these guys. And then I'm just going to select the mask here and just move it around a bit until it looks about right. Okay, we just want the paint to look like, you know, it's about the same age. So that's probably fine right there. Okay, so let's get rid of this selection. And we'll just do a save and just check it out in max and see if the size is right. Alright, jump back over. Alright, take a look. Okay, that's not too bad. I might move them down just a little bit. Okay, so let's select both layers holding control. And I'm just going to move them down so they're more centered between the ridges. Alright, and let's save again. And check it out. Okay, so yeah, that's good. Alright, so let's save in max here, and we'll just go back over and just continue working. So let's just close our character panel here, we don't need it, and now that we have the text and the metal all laid in, we'll just add some drip marks on the tank. Okay, so let's go back out, and we'll open up this drip map here. Alright, and let's just copy the whole thing, Control A and C, close it, and I'm just going to paste it above the population layer, Control V. Okay, and let's just move it up, and I might tile this maybe a couple of times. It'll depend on how long you want your drip marks to be, but I'm going to do Control T here and just take it down a bit, holding Shift. Okay, maybe like that, and then we'll copy it again, Control A and C, and paste, and we'll just line it up next to it. Alright, let's flip it around. So we'll flip it horizontally, hit enter, and then we'll just line this up somewhere where you won't really notice the seam. Alright, I might just trim a little bit off there, just to kind of match the color a bit better. Okay, so delete it out. Alright, move it in place. Alright, I'm just going to go over a little farther, I think. Alright, and we'll combine them, holding control, hit E. We're just going to zoom in here and just use the healing brush. Alright, so I'm just going to alt click and just try to paint this out. We're going to make this really dark anyway, so we don't need to worry about it too much. I'm just going to do that. And again. Okay, that's probably even fine there. Alright, so let's zoom back out. Alright, I'm just going to change the blending mode to multiply here for a second. Okay, that's going to get rid of most of the white, but you're still going to be able to see the dark streaks. Okay, so before we go any further, I'm just going to do a save and see if the size looks right in max. Okay, and then we'll clean up the bottom here. Okay, so there they are up there, and they might need to be a little bit longer, so let's go back. Okay, let's change this back to normal so we can see it. And I'm just going to do Control T here and just scale it. Alright, just so it's a little bit farther down the tank. Alright, might go down to about the bottom ridge or so. Alright, let's just hit enter here for a sec. Turn our UVs on. Okay, I'm just going to position it a bit better. I just want the strip detail, you know, along the top edge. Okay, so we'll try that. Let's turn the UVs off and we'll just change the mode back to multiply. I'm just going to zoom out a bit so I can see the whole thing at once, and let's just do an adjustment on this. Okay, so I'm going to go image adjustments and we'll just do a levels adjustment here. Okay, I'm just going to tweak this a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to try to get rid of some of the bottom part and make the stain marks a little more intense looking. Okay, so just so I can't see the seam, alright? And again, this will depend on your display. If it still looks like it's there, just adjust until you can't see it. Okay, so we'll just do something like this and say okay. Alright, and just to be safe, I'm going to add another mask to this layer. Okay, and we'll select it, and I'm just going to paint in it with a large, soft paintbrush and a black color. Okay, I'm just going to hit the bottom half of it just to make sure that no seam is visible on the model. Okay, just like that, really quick. Okay, and then let's save again and just check it out in max. Okay, so we're getting it up there, and that's where we want it. We just want to look like it maybe leaked. So that's probably fine. Again, if you want to make them longer or whatever you want to do, that's fine, you can. But I'm going to move on and just add some along the bottom of the ridges here. Okay, so let's save again. And we'll go back and just add those few along the ridges.